Hey guys, this is Savannah from earthandwater.co. Today I'm with a guest, Elizabeth Kitt. She does a lot of things, but I saw that you mostly do chronic pain help and ancestral clearing, which is a new one for me, even though I think I understand like the gist of it, and I just didn't have a word for it. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that ancestral clearing, because that is fascinating.
Yeah, so I have I took a deep dive into ancestral clearing, which is a modality registered and trademarked by John Newton of Health Beyond Belief.
Okay.
He's the only one that teaches this, and he's taught probably thousands of people practitioners how to do this. I happen to be very active. I've been active in this process since 2014, and also I have a specialty in historical trauma. So they meet really well. And I sit in about 4 different sanghas or communities that where they're ancestral people that are working on ancestral issues. So that's really sweet and supportive for the ancestral clearing work that I do, for the stress management work that I do, for the historical trauma work that I do, and for the yoga work that I do. I do a lot of trauma-informed yoga. It's kind of, I do yoga, but I really pointed my practice, teaching practice, in the trauma-informed space. And we all carry this, the effects of intergenerational trauma. So it fits like in this sweet little jigsaw puzzle. All these pieces fit together. It's based on the really the teaching. Spiritual teachers have been telling us for thousands of years, we come into this life with the gifts and the burdens of our ancestors.
Generational trauma, right? Generational curses is what people.
Well, yeah, you could. There's a lot of different names for it. I tend to in my own mind and my own kind of construct of the world, I tend to think of curses as words that were thrown in the direction of me or one of my ancestors. Actual words that were like, okay, you will, whatever. I tend to think, but that's me. That doesn't mean it's real. That doesn't mean it's limited to that, right?
We could always get into words and how.
Yeah, it could be a thought. It could be, a thought of, resentful, vindictive kind of thought. That the energy alone, right, is enough to change things. So anyway, science has actually caught up and actually can measure. It can measure 14 generations, 7 generations front and back on a nematode, but it can't do it on people because it hasn't done the studies. It can do it on 3 generations.
On people?
On people, yeah. Rachel Yehuda has done that with descendants of of people that were in the Holocaust.
Yes, I've seen studies like that.
And they find different cortisol levels in the descendants, meaning that they don't have as much resilience now because of what they experience. The good news,
because you would think that they would have more resilience.
Well, different. It would be different. I was told I suffered with chronic pain for 4 decades, and I was told, oh, chronic pain people don't have good resilience. And I'm like, dude, I lasted 40 years. What are you talking about? Right. And so I asked, because I have the science background, I kind of geek out there. I asked this question: what scale are you using to measure resilience?
Yeah.
And the answer was, there's about 15 different scales. They haven't decided, there's all these differences. They haven't decided how to measure it exactly. They know that there's differences between people, and they know that different things affect it. And what I was going to say is I have this trauma neuroscience background. And the good news here is that even if we come in with less resilience than the normal, whatever the normal population is, the average population, the nervous system is plastic, which means we can train it to build. We can build more capacity for resilience in the nervous system. So it's not like this. I'm set. This is the way I came in, and that's where I'm going to stay. It's not like that. Yeah. So yeah. So really important to understand the nervous system is adaptable, highly adaptable, and it depends on what information is coming into the system and how the system is handling as to how it operates. right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that study. That's from like a Newtonian timeline kind of viewpoint, a Newtonian logic. But if you look at this whole thing from a quantum point of view, the quantum physicists tell us that in the present moment we can access past, present, and future all at once.
Yes.
And we do this work in the present moment,
yeah.
which is why it's so powerful. So we're sitting here. So, and also the yogis, right? The yoga, the Vedas, the sutras, the yoga sutras tell us that we're all connected. And they talk about yoga is now and the present moment. Well, I'm going to take it one step further, right? So based on what we just talked about, yes, we're all connected in the field of consciousness, not just in the present moment, but the past is here with us.
Mm-hmm.
So ancestors, yeah, they're physically, passed on, but the energy of their experience is right here with us.
Right, because their energy created our energy. Yeah.
So that for me is kind of like a mind-blowing, that's a lot for my poor mind to handle. That's
a lot for everyone to handle.
But that's also a very powerful understanding, because our ancestors are literally in our bones and we're never alone. And we do the work, and I'll talk about this, the yoga end of this, and I'll talk about ancestral clearing, but I'll talk about the yoga part too. We do this work and to help clear any unhealthy patterns that are showing up in our life. And we don't know where they came from necessarily, but they're showing up. Right? And one of the practices in yoga from the Kundalini yoga tradition is one where you sit, we use the mantra Waheguru, and Wahe means wow. And Guru means teacher that takes us from darkness to light. So you're grateful for the teacher that takes us from darkness to light. Waheguru. And we just repeat Waheguru. And while we do that, we take our hands, and it's kind of like we're taking water and splashing it up over our back. We're like that. Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheguru. Like that. What we're imagining is that we're taking anything that no longer serves us and we're letting it stay in the past.
Yeah, a really good way to clear your aura.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Right. Exactly. And I've been in this meditation. I remember I've been in this meditation many times, but I remember the most significant, one of the first times was when I was in Costa Rica at an event with Recovery 2.0, Tommy Rosen's addiction recovery coach with them. He has a Thanksgiving event down at Blue Spirit in Costa Rica. And I was down there a few years ago. And we did this Waheguru. Now, understand, my ancestors that I know of, as far as I know, and we got a lot of history about my ancestors, do not come from Costa Rica. So just understand that. But remember, I said, we're all in the field, right? We're all here in the present moment together. So it kind of doesn't matter where we are on the planet. But I remember going down to Costa Rica. That resort is in a rainforest, and it preserves the space. And I remember walking in that forest and feeling the ancestors, not even thinking about that, but feeling them there. And I was like, what are you doing here? You don't come from here. But they were there. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I feel you. And I kind of went on my business. And a couple of days later, we did this meditation. And I'm, Waheguru. And I get partway into it. And this is not normal for me. I don't see things like this. So it's very unusual when it happens. I'm going to get woo-woo on you for a minute. No, I literally felt the ancestors behind me. That was just, I didn't see anything. I felt them. And I felt like they were cheering me on, which is like, like I said, science geek. The woo-woo is kind of like, it's got to be grounded for me to understand it.
Completely. I've really went on through that because I have a history of seeing things and feeling things. And in our culture, you're like, oh, I'm crazy. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Right. I have crazy in my family. So when something like that happens, I'm like, oh, now it's my turn. And so, here's the thing. Because of that influence, for years, I blocked out my intuition.
Same.
And so it's been really interesting, really diving into the yogic path and doing the ancestral clearing work and kind of getting out of the thinking mind all the time, it's been very interesting to open to that and not like, well, that's weird, not do that. It's like to open it and allow that in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information there. So I felt the ancestors there. And, we do that meditation for 11 minutes and my arms get tired. and my mind comes in and goes, well, stop doing that. I'm like, no, we're not done. It was the energy of enthusiasm that I felt from my ancestors that kind of kept me going. And now I just, when I do that meditation, which I do from time to time, there's kind of a flow with it. There's kind of a flow. It's like an effortless, it's not like a lot of efforting, because my arms will get tired when there's a lot of efforting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of hit a little sweet spot in there. So that's a very interesting meditation to do that can help within the yoga space, that can help clear the aura and also clear, or release that which no longer serves us.
Yeah. When I get anxious, because I have panic, I've built my whole platform started out with me trying to figure out how to fix my anxiety, because that was problematic in my life.
I can relate to that.
I still experience it from time to time, but it's a lot better than it used to be. Anyway, when I have panic attacks come out, if you get up here in your aura and stuff, you can oftentimes, if you know what you're looking for, and it's not even so much as knowing what you're looking for as being open to noticing anything that you notice, and just
that's right.
allowing yourself to, do I feel something over here? I kind of do. And like, even right now doing this right here, I'm not touching myself, but I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And it smooths it out a little bit. And you can kind of like essentially pet your aura back down into a smooth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. The yoga practice that I do every morning is for kind of magnetism, which is kind of hard to. We're hooked into the magnetic field here on Earth, and it's going through a lot of changes. And this practice, the teachers say that it helps strengthen our own local magnetic field, so we're not kind of so susceptible to the changes outside of us. And that's not real sciencey, but that's from the yoga point of view.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the science that is clashing, not clashing. Clashing sounds like at odds, but coming together with confirming some of these ancient practices. Mm-hmm. And we're taking, because we used to be a completely spiritual people, and everything happened because the gods willed it so. We didn't know magic. Who knows why anything happens? And then we started exploring our world and finding the more concrete stuff, which is where the science came in. And we've really we cut spirit off there for a while. And if it wasn't concrete, physical, tangible stuff, then we just kind of threw it out to the wayside as woo-woo, right? And I love that it's all coming together now, where we're not at odds with spirituality and science anymore. It's coming together to be one thing, because honestly, it's always been one thing, right?
It's always been one thing. That's what quantum physics did for us.
Yes.
It brought the two together. I remember asking my dad when I was like 4 years old, well, there's this world and there's this world, and where is it that they meet? And his answer was, you ask too many questions.
I got that a lot too.
Nobody wanted to answer that question. And so I literally stopped asking it out loud, but I didn't stop asking the question. And I did a lot of reading, and I could see, everybody's talking about the light, but they're having an argument about what to call it. I saw that. And then quantum physics came. I was like, that's where they meet there. Right. So yeah. It's all the same. It's just that the mind, the ego, decides that it's not, and then we're separate. Then we suffer. Then we're really suffering when we have that separation. Which is what yoga addresses. The yoga is now, and there is no separation.
No, and we get stuck on wanting the numbers and the math and give me the facts. What are the hard facts? And you know what? The hard facts are that we don't know. And the more that we find out as concrete, the more we find out that we have no idea.
That's right. Yeah, it's very humbling to have. So I have a footing in biology,
Cool.
plant science and animal behavior and evolutionary biology, and then on human physiology because I had, pain for a long time. I had panic attacks too for quite a while, and I've had one for a long time, so over 10 years. So that's a blessing.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Oh, well, yeah, that panic attack thing is, from my trauma training, that's a trauma response that's happening there.
Well, I found that a lot of my anxiety is caused by food allergies that we weren't.
Well, that'll do it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I ended up with expanding this platform, because the more I went into anxiety and the causes and everything, is the more I found that most people are highly unaware that there are tons of causes to anxiety, and that everybody, if you don't experience it, especially, they just want to write it off as overthinking and, like you're working yourself up. Can you just calm down? And my was never like that. So I was trying to understand, like, it's not me. It's
That's
my
right.
body. My body's freaking out, and I don't know why. And we found out it was food allergies was what was causing the majority of mine. Not that there wasn't definitely trauma-based anxiety in there as well, mixed in. I've had a lot of flavors of anxiety.
Yeah, and no doubt they were feeding on one another.
Oh, sure.
Right?
For sure.
So the beautiful thing about yoga is that the yogis knew, they don't have the words that the neuroscientists use, but they knew how to balance the body.
Yes.
And a panic attack is regardless of the cause, is a stress response that's gone wacko, that's gone out of balance. And this is why yoga is such a powerful practice for people that have these patterns like chronic pain, anxiety, chronic stress, panic attacks. That kind of stuff is in their field. Yoga's your regular yoga practice that's targeted to really regulate the nervous system, calm the brain, get balance back in the brain. This is why I went into trauma-informed yoga. Is a godsend. What a blessing to have these tools, because when I had panic attacks, I had my wits. I didn't have yoga. I had my wits. The closest thing, I did have a meditation practice, but I found it very difficult to drop into meditation when I'm having a panic attack. That was just like, I'm kind of here. My nervous system's going wacky, and I was completely off the hook here. And so it's really important to be able to have tools that help balance that stress response so that it doesn't jump like that.
Absolutely. I firmly believe that there is not a problem on this planet that yoga can't get you through.
Yes.
Is it going to fix everything? I don't know. That completely depends on your dedication, honestly.
Yeah, I remember one of the things I learned, like, I don't know, what year are we in? 5 years ago, and I've been in yoga since like 1990 or something. I had a hatha yoga practice, but I got deep into it about 10 years ago, and just
And where are you located?
I'm in Lawrence, Kansas, right in the center of the country.
Is that where you've always been?
No, I started in Delaware, but I've been here since about 1992 or something.
Okay.
So 1990, yeah, but 1992. So I had this realization: whatever my problem is, the answer is more yoga. It's like, that was my conclusion. It doesn't kind of matter. Physical, emotional, spiritual, more yoga.
I agree completely.
And I'm not talking necessarily about asana, the physical practice.
Yes.
I'm talking about the 8-limbed integrated practice.
Yes.
Which it took me. I had to learn that and practice, and really sit in front of a teacher to and practice with them, and understand. Really get into the dive deep into yoga to really understand what that meant. But that's what the Yoga Sutras promise. They promise that with an integrated practice, meaning you practice all 8 limbs of yoga, you'll attain the state of yoga, which is the state of balance and presence.
Yes, the philosophy stuff is definitely what got me hooked on yoga in the beginning. I've always loved all of this. And the reason I was like, where are you from? is because I'm from Alabama.
Oh,
Now there's a handful of yogis in my area, but
awesome.
5 years ago, I might have been the only one. And
Oh, okay.
and I've been practicing for about, how old am I? Probably about 13 years now. And it was a really slow go in the beginning, because how do you explain the depth of yoga when people were like, oh, it's an exercise, you're stretching? I mean, yes and no.
Oh, that's just one little limb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, yoga is experiential. So the job of a teacher really is to provide an environment, a safe environment where the students can have an experience. You'd agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely, because there's as many different types of yoga as there are people. It's a very deeply personal practice. So you
Yeah.
start with the basics and, the overtone, and from there it just develops in so many different ways.
Mhm. Yeah. But there's always the 8 limbs. You can always go back to the 8 limbs, and the sutras lay that out so beautifully. So that we have that part in common.
Mm-hmm.
How it blossoms for each person is individual.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. The problem with the yoga being marketed in the United States is that everybody thinks it's physical practice. You go do a workout, and that's not actually what's happening. So we didn't market it very well.
It took me so long to find a yoga instructor in my area that didn't treat it just like an exercise.
Oh, I'm so glad you found one.
Now, well, I ended up having to become the one, but
well, there you go. Yeah.
but I did find someone eventually. I did.
Beautiful. So we have those practices in yoga that are very supportive of bringing the system to balance and clearing what we call in yoga samskara, which are these habitual patterns that are unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Like whatever our default is when we kind of go unconscious, meaning we're not being super aware of what we're doing. We just fall into an old pattern. That's a samskara. Now, samskara is literally a habit or a pattern. Most of the things that I would call samskara for me are things that I would like to shift. So I generally consider them to be things that, like, I got to work on that. Yeah. But I'm not sure all samskaras are bad per se. We don't really use that word, unhealthy. Right. I don't think they all need to be shifted. But like I've got a gratitude habit, which is pretty interesting. I kind of came in with that was a gift that my ancestors gave me, this gratitude thing. I don't want to shift that. If anything, I want to make it bigger. Right? So we have that in yoga. And then ancestral clearing is a little different practice. We're still working in the present moment. We use the word forgive to mean offer up that which no longer serves. So we're still working with clearing energy that is no longer serving us. We're just using that word forgive to mean that.
I love that, because a lot of people get really antsy when you start talking about forgiveness. I know.
I have to always qualify it. I know what that is. And it's not really, in this practice, it's not whatever that is what we are saying that it is. Mm-hmm. And what we do in this practice is we're looking to the field of consciousness in the present moment, and we're asking the creator, the thing that created consciousness, whatever you call that, creator, source, infinite, God, whatever, we're asking it to help us release that which no longer serves us. We're not asking it to release it. We're asking it to help us release. So that's like a distinction there. And we do that in a form with words, and again, in the yogas, this is why these two things go together so well in my mind anyway. In yoga, we have mantra, and mantra is a repeated sound. The bij sounds, which are these seed sounds, don't necessarily have an actual meaning. Some of those sounds from like traditional Himalayan style meditation, they'll give you a bij sound, one of like 5 sounds, because I'm trained in that. And you hang out with one of those sounds, and it doesn't really necessarily mean anything. It's a sound that helps you kind of drop into the space of consciousness.
It's a tone, right? That helps, like the vibrational frequency stuff.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have like a meaning. It just has as you say, it has a frequency, and we repeat that for a while, during this particular kind of it's not transcendental meditation. It's a precursor to transcendental meditation,
Okay.
and that's very powerful. And there are also mantra where we, like I said, Waheguru. That's a very powerful mantra. It's also a mantra, so we can use it for clearing the aura and releasing that which no longer serves us. It's also a beautifully healing mantra. I just taught this in a little different way, where we just sat quietly and Waheguru, 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 Wahegeo. Geo means friend. So Waheguru, yay, teacher that takes us from darkness to light, into light, friend, right? We say that. And that's a very healing. That's called this particular version of that, using that mantra, is called the last resort meditation. And so when you're like, I don't know what else to do, Waheguru, and it's very interesting, the effect. And I did this for a class. I work on twice a month. I work in a platform that's specific to people that have had a betrayal experience. The platform is dedicated to helping people. That's kind of a unique kind of trauma. There's kind of a certain way that you heal from that.
It's a hard one for sure. I'm not sure I know anybody who doesn't have it.
So this is a platform that's dedicated to helping people heal from that particular issue. And I work as the trauma-informed yoga person, ancestral clearing, and stress management person on that platform. Cool. And so I was, because in the betrayal experience, when you're, just divorced your husband or separated or whatever the thing is, and you're charged up, right? This, again, will come in and regulate the nervous system. So we use mantra to help us regulate the nervous system. It activates the vagus nerve, and it helps us to, right? So we use words in yoga to help us regulate, calm the mind, and kind of really clear our samskaras in yoga. In ancestral clearing, we use words kind of as word medicine. We don't call ourselves healers or doctors in this practice, but we're using words in a way that, in a little bit different way, but they still help us clear. And I'd love to give your listeners a taste of this. It take maybe about 5 minutes to go through. Okay, great. So, and this will work as powerfully on the replay as it does live, because it's all in real time. And as we said, past, present, future, all the same in the present moment, right? So everyone listening to this, if you could just notice kind of whatever sensations you have in the body, and just notice them, notice the number, a level of intensity from 0 to 10. Just notice the number and breathe normally, and just let these words pass over you. Infinite Creator, all that you are, source of all that is, was, and ever will be. We ask humbly and gratefully that you help everyone listening to this, all of their relationships, and all of their ancestors and all of their relationships, throughout all relevant time, space, dimension, lives, lifetimes, and incarnations. For any time they felt let down by life, by family members, by relationships, by anyone representing the Creator, and for any time they felt let down by the Creator in any name or form, for any time they turned their back on the Creator or felt the Creator turned its back on them, please help everyone forgive each other and forgive themselves, and be at peace with one another and at peace with yourselves. Please and thank you. For any times you were abandoned, not supported, nurtured, and loved, and cherished the way that you needed, please help all of you to forgive each other and forgive yourselves. For all the times you didn't support, nurture, and love others in the ways they needed. For any time you were out of integrity with one another, or another out of integrity with you, please help all of you to forgive each other and forgive yourselves for the highest good. Please and thank you for all war, battle, holocaust, genocide, persecution, slavery, injustice of any kind, any oppression, misuse of power, position, authority, politically, judicially, medically, spiritually, or in any other way. For all slander or libel or other misuse of the power of the word, please help everyone involved, directly or indirectly, to forgive each other and forgive themselves now and forever, no matter what happened, please, and thank you. For all hurts and wrongs, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, sexual, financial, through thought, word, or action. For all that happened and all you made it mean. Please help all of you to forgive each other and forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. For all suicide, incest, murder, rape, abortion, infidelity, infertility, miscarriage, all of it. Everyone involved in any way. Please help all of you to forgive one another and forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. For anyone who is stubborn, judgmental, and bullying. For the times you didn't follow the inner knowing of your heart. For all this and all regret. Please help all of you to forgive one another and forgive yourselves for the highest good, please and thank you. For all hurts and wrongs to the earth, the life of the earth, Native, Indigenous, First Nation, and Aboriginal people. Please help all of you to forgive one another and forgive yourselves for all that happened, no matter what it was. Be at peace with one another and at peace with yourselves. Please and thank you. For any time you withheld love, for any time you manipulated or violated another, for any time anyone did this to you, for any time anyone was trapped physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, financially, spiritually, or in any other way, for any time anyone felt forsaken and forgotten, locked up and forgotten, or condemned and forgotten, and for all the associated inverse burden, please help everyone forgive each other, forgive yourselves for all of it. Please and thank you. For all betrayal, stealing, gaslighting, backbiting, jealousy, secrecy, or lying. For any time words were left unspoken just to keep the peace in the moment and any resulting resentment. Please help everyone involved to forgive each other, forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. For any time you felt, believed, or were shown you weren't enough. For the times you tried to earn or learn your way into the value of your family, your relationships, or into the grace and love of the Creator. For all that led up to this and all that arose from it. Please help all of you to forgive each other, forgive yourselves, and be at peace with one another and at peace with yourselves. Please and thank you. For all empathic hurts and wrongs, times you took on others' unresolved issues, carried or shouldered their burdens. For all adversity, struggle, and hardship you saw, especially as children. For all dark night of the soul experiences. Please help all of you to forgive one another. Forgive yourselves, all family members, all relationships, times this was done to you, times you did this to others. Please and thank you, Infinite Creator, all that you are, please and thank you. For the times you weren't shown or encouraged to stand up and speak up and do things your way. For the times you didn't feel safe to say no when appropriate. Please help all of you to forgive your parents, your grandparents, family members, relationships. Help them all forgive you and help you all forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. For all the times you were attacked, blamed, judged, and misunderstood. For the times you did this to others. For any manipulation, deceit, or rejection, please help all of you to forgive each other and forgive yourselves. Find peace with one another. And find peace with yourselves, please and thank you. For all hurts and wrongs, anything we left out, if it serves the highest good, we include it now. For all that happened and all you made it mean. Everything that led up to and arose from hurts, wrongs, limitation, or a burden of any kind that's not serving the highest good. We ask all of you, everyone involved directly or indirectly, to forgive your parents, grandparents, siblings, children, and grandchildren. Help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. Your whole family and lineage. Help you forgive your cousins, aunts, uncles, step-in-laws, hidden, secret, foster, adopted, and all other significant people, beings, family members, relationships, role models, authority figures. Help them forgive you. Help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. Infinite Creator, all that you are, please and thank you for the highest good. Please help all of you to release all weight, pain, burden, sin, death, debt, negativity, limitation, all superstition energy, spells, hexes, curses, white magic, black magic, real or imagined. Please direct everyone into your perfect light and love for the highest good only and always. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. And just take a nice big breath in and let it out and notice how that feels in the body. You might note the number as compared to when you started, what the number of intensity is.
Wow, that was intense and powerful and so encompassing of everything. Like I was like, wow, she covered everything wrong ever in my life. And then we would find another thing. I was like, wow, there's another one. Oh my gosh, there's another one. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. Yeah, so you can enjoy the replay because it's interesting. The clearing. I'm not only a practitioner of the work, I'm in the work myself. As I said, I was in a 3-hour ancestral clearing around pets, clearing pets. We also can clear animals in this practice. Land. I cleared some land about an hour ago.
Oh, cool.
You can clear relics, right? Stuff that you maybe antiques and stuff. If use stuff, you can do the prayers on that. Houses, spaces, all that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting practice. Yeah.
Yeah, because energy gets stuck on everything. Because
Well,
everything is
everything's energy. That's right. So it's kind of like what's happening here with the energy, and it's interesting. I've been in houses before. I know this kind of sounds woo woo, and I'm scientist.
I love it. It's
not going to
fine.
make any sense. But when you have a friend that calls you up and says, "There's something happening in my house, and I can feel it, but I can't see it, but it's this thing," and you go over there and maybe light a little sage, open a window at one end of the house and one at the other end of the house, so the energy can move through it, and then walk through and recite the prayers, and that energy just disappears. It's like, okay, that's not science, but that's anecdotal, pretty powerful anecdotal evidence there of something happening.
Absolutely. And you can feel it and you can pick up on these things that we don't have machines to pick up on just yet.
Well, the
But
studies, we just haven't done the studies yet. That's all. It costs money.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of, academia gets, if they start looking at things like that, they get laughed out of the
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're very careful in this space as practitioners to say, I'm not a doctor, not a therapist. We're actually addressing the spiritual aspects of whatever the person, place, or thing is presenting. And so it's very supportive. It's complementary to doctors and therapists. It's complementary to all of their healing modalities. We're just very careful about how we label ourselves so we don't step on toes and go over our own boundaries, right?
Absolutely. And that's what makes things so difficult when you get into the business of the spiritual businesses, because you have to find that fine line that represents what you do in a way that doesn't sound crazy and with words that don't step on any toes or don't, potentially open you up to honestly lawsuits.
Well, we're very careful about not making claims. Again, it's anecdotal, and we let the client, they have their experience. In yoga class, we're also very careful as teachers, yoga teachers. We're very careful about the words that we use and the claims that we make or don't make, because again, we can step on toes. We're there just as an ancestral clearing practitioner is there as a yoga teacher or ancestral clearing practitioner. We're there to provide a safe space for the person to have an experience.
Yes. And, it's so individualized per client, per student, per everything.
Sure.
So it's really hard to, I've had a hard time packaging myself since the get-go. We're like 12 years in at this point that I've been doing things online, such as this right here. And, I can show you all day long. I can tell you all the things. Can I put it into a 3-sentence pitch? Not really.
Well, I think your align, vibe, and flow is a 3-word recipe for people that have the ears to hear that. They know exactly what you're about.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what I chose it for. I have a history of getting too namey with things. So I put too much energy into naming things. And the podcast came about, like I said earlier, it found me. I wasn't looking for it. I never intended to do a podcast. I had been on a lot of podcasts in various ventures of work and stuff. Like I was a birth doula for a while, and that was something I was super passionate about and really felt like people needed to know more about the injustices in that system. And then anxiety. And so I've done a lot of podcasts like as a guest, but I never wanted to do my own. That felt like a lot of responsibility. And I was just like, no, thank you. But when it did finally come about, it was so quick that I was like, I'm just going to throw this up here for SEO search engine optimization purposes, because I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I don't know what we're talking about. I mean, I kind of know what we're talking about, but we're 2 years into the podcast now, and I could probably, but it's fine how it is.
Well, I think those three words are informative.
They are.
Align, vibe, that's the vibration, line, and flow. That all speaks to the oneness and being in the present moment.
Absolutely, which is exactly what I like.
Yeah. So I think, I think it's well named. I don't know about the SEO. I'm not an SEO expert. I do the work that around my content to try and get the SEO as optimized as possible, but that's not my area. Right?
Sure. I don't know. I really, really appreciate you telling me that you like it, because for a long time I've had like some animosity towards it myself personally, just because I like fancy names and I like to put thought into names, and because I know that I just kind of threw something up there that,
oh my God, it sounds poetic to me.
Well, good. I'm really glad to hear that.
Okay, great. So the work, again, that why it's fitting in this space is that the yoga work and the ancestral clearing work, it's all done in the present moment. We're all accessing this experience of the present moment. The past is done. Mm-hmm. The future hasn't happened yet. It's all happening now. Mm-hmm. So where am I? Am I here? So my word, really, my word for the year, and here I am a yoga teacher. Yeah. My word for the year is presence. Can I be even more? Because I will actually notice as I brought that word in, the more I started kind of hanging out in the presence thing, the more I noticed, I'm checking out. Look at me checking out. Like I'm actually not here. I'm checking out. The mind is going elsewhere. So that's a very powerful word. It's turned out to be a powerful word, showing me it's like when we ask for something, we get it. Yes. And when I asked for presence, what happened? I got an assignment in it.
Yes, you said everything happens in the present moment, and healing is the same way. And healing is a verb, but at the same time, it's just a state of being. Mm-hmm. It's more of a noun, really, is what we should be thinking of it as, because it is just releasing, letting go of everything that has happened, being hyper aware of this moment and finding the beauty in the now. And, when things pop up that trigger our traumas and our anxieties, or whatever it's triggering, being aware enough to be like, okay, I have these tools, let me grab these tools so that I can be more in the now moment. Because as soon as that trigger happens, you're no longer living in the now you're living in the past again. That's right.
Yep, that's right. And somewhere in there's some resistance. You're protecting. You can't protect and connect at the same time. Mm-hmm. So not only are you in the past, you're disconnected from, right, your nervous system dysregulated, you're not connected, you can't think straight, really, you can barely grab your tools to breathe, right? Mm-hmm. and kind of claw your way back. The thing is that somewhere in there's some resistance. And for me, the trick in that space is to, where am I pushing? Like I will fight. Like I'll fight. I try to pain for 40 years. I can fight. I'll fight with pain as long as you want. Like, really, that didn't do anything but make more pain. But I didn't know any better for a long time. And
it's the natural.
I learned about not fighting with pain by using my meditation practice. I really that was where I would, and this is what I discovered, because I've been meditating since like 1975. But I wasn't able to amplify the meditation practice like I can now, because I was on a prescription medication for so long, because I had this back thing and a lot of surgery and whatever. But that was what kept me, the meditation, keep coming back, drop the story, keep coming back, because there's pain, whatever, come back, breathe, come back to the breath. That was what kept me going, until I could finally find somebody who knew how to heal chronic pain, which I finally did. But that was what kept me steady, was this coming back. And where am I resisting the present moment? It's not so much the present moment, it's my experience in the present moment. Where in my body am I doing this? I'm tense. So can I relax that? And I suffered from migraines for 7 years during that period. And the last one I had, I remember, I remember, I heard this voice. I know it's going to sound crazy, but this is what happened. I heard this voice say, Elizabeth, try a contrary action. Clearly what you're doing is not working, which would be fighting against the pain, right? And I'm like, oh, what would a contrary action be? And the answer was, stop fighting with the pain.
Ride it.
And I stopped. I literally surrendered, which was this opening. Instead of contracting, and tension, I just had this big expansion. I never had another migraine.
Yeah, because then the energy is able to move.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not, Yeah. So it's hard to teach. It's easy. You and I can describe it because we've been through it. But it's hard to teach somebody how to do that. You can put the words around it and kind of open the door and say, "There's the door. Walk through." Right?
Yeah, just practice.
But they have to actually find the resistance in themselves and release it to understand what the heck we're really talking about.
Yes, absolutely, they do, and that's where the work is. Honestly. Yeah, well, this has been absolutely. You have a book, don't you? Don't you have a book?
I do. Yes, I do have a book. It's called, thank you. It's called The Way Through Chronic Pain, Tools to Reclaim Your Healing Power.
That is, I love the cover.
Oh, thank you. It's a book for chronic pain sufferers and those who care for them, doctors, nurses, family members, and friends. And it offers proven techniques to clear pain and live a life free from suffering, from a former chronic pain sufferer, me, who searched the globe for answers and found them. So it's kind of a small book, but it's packed with the tools that I used to help clear the pain. And also the other piece in this book was I wanted to make sure that I wrote what the chronic pain voice sounds like in the mind. Like, what is it? Because I've sat in front of thousands of chronic pain sufferers, and I was, like I said, I was one for myself for years. I was in and out of hospitals and physical rehab centers and things like that. So I met an awful lot of people that were suffering at doctors' offices, things like that. And we don't tell the truth in chronic pain. Chronic pain is not just physical. It's physical, emotional, spiritual. Any pain that's felt 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more is chronic. It all sends the same signal to the brain. It hurts. So the brain can't tell the difference between a broken bone and a broken heart. And it changes the way the brain processes things. So we have to bring modalities that heal the changes, and medication doesn't do that. So
we want to focus on the physical, but we're a whole being.
Yes, you can't. This again, the yogic principle. You can't separate mind, body from spirit. It's all one, right? So we don't tell the truth in chronic pain as sufferers. We're either complaining all the time or we don't complain at all, and we're kind of in the middle of that. We don't. It's just the way. It's just part of the phenomenon. So people that are taking care of us don't really know what's going on, and that was a piece of this book, was to try and paint that landscape for the people that care for chronic pain sufferers, and also for people that are in chronic pain that finally get seen. Like, yes. Oh, Elizabeth really gets me, like that.
It can be really lonely, really isolating, because unless, just like with anxiety, if you don't experience it yourself, it's really hard to understand, and you just want to so there's lots of things we could get into with that for sure. But it makes it lonely and isolating.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, that's my book.
Awesome. And I will link that in all of our show notes. Can you tell people what you have to offer for them, like where they can find you, what kind of services?
Sure. So you can find me at my website, which is elizabeth-kipp.com. You got to put a hyphen there between my first and last name. Last name Kipp, Kipp. I'm not just an ancestral clearing teacher, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a stress management and historical trauma specialist, and trauma trained and yoga informed addiction recovery coach. That sounds like a lot of things, but really, if you have a stress management issue on any level, come see me. If you want some work with ancestral stuff, come see me. You can, and all the information is on my website. You can find me all over social media as well.
And I will link every bit of it below, and wherever you're listening to this, we got a lot of places, but it's nearby, I promise.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for asking me on. And I love your podcast, and I can't wait to share it with my audience.
Well, awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation as well. Thank you so much for sharing all of these things with us.
All right. Thanks, Savannah. Have a great rest of your day.
You do the same. So I might say this after every single episode, but that was one of my favorites. I really enjoyed that one. I love this job, you guys. I love talking to these people, and editing is probably my favorite part, because when you're in the moment, it's kind of hard sometimes to really understand and grasp the depth of what my guest is telling me. So I just because you got to keep going, and you don't really have time to just sit there, because I only have an hour with them, so we have to keep things moving. So when I can go back and edit, it's so much more powerful, because I'm able to just sit back and really fully take in what they had to offer us. And I really, really loved this one. It was wonderful. I hope you did too. I hope you got some things out of that just like I did. Listening to the audio version, it really, you miss out on a few things, because we're kind of visual people, for one. I know I need visuals sometimes to really understand and grasp things. And then those exercises we were doing where we were smoothing out our auras, I really jam-packed my schedule for August to record, and you know what? I definitely overscheduled a little bit. I've been really back-to-back and a little overwhelmed with the amount of recordings I've been doing. And in that, I have been thinking about these visual parts and things, and several of my guests have given us exercises that require the visuals, and I will do my best to pick them out and put them in clips like I've been doing for you guys. But you are going to have to be a little patient with me, so I don't know when I'll be able to get to those types of things, but I will be working on it. In the meantime, you are always free to check out the Patreon, and, well, it's not free. That's a little misleading language, isn't it? Sorry. I do have to make a living doing these things so that I can continue to bring them to you. But you can catch the video versions of these, which are completely unedited. These audio versions are super, super edited just for quality of hearing and listening. I'm not taking out chunks of information or anything like that. All of the information is intact. It's just really edited. So you're kind of missing some of the energy to it with the audio, not only from not being able to see the visuals and the interactions and the exercises, but just the energy of how she tells it, because I speed it up a little bit, because the natural flow of things are a little bit slower than our attention spans can handle when we're listening to audio and podcasts and stuff. But anyway, so you can go check that out over at the Patreon, which is linked around here somewhere. I don't know. Also, please, subscribe, rate. All of these things really help me out, and I cannot do any of this without y'all's support. So I really, really appreciate you being here. I really, really appreciate you listening. And if you took the time to listen to this essentially work of art that I put out here, is what I feel like it is, please take another minute to help me out by rating the podcast and commenting, or whatever you can do, sharing, whatever is easy for you and stuff. But I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you next week.